The Dodgers just dropped 20 runs in 2 games. And just like that, the rest of baseball is saying once again, oh crap.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, we have to talk about what's happening down the freeway, because when the owner of the Angels suggests affordability matters more than winning, that's a mindset problem. Freddie Freeman says he'd like to walk away at 40. Is that realistic? And what would it mean for the Dodgers' future? But first, we're breaking down the Dodgers' explosive start of Cactus League play, Travis. What we learned from Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the newcomers, and more.
Yeah, nice to see the guys out on the field. It's been a long time, and we are finally here. We finally got a little live baseball to talk about. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You can catch Travis every weekday afternoon from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA, holding it down on the Travis and DeMarco Show. And if you're not in Southern California or you're on the move, the ESPN LA app keeps you plugged in no matter where you are. As for me, when I'm not on the call for USC football games in Espanol, this is home base, breaking down Dodgers baseball with you every single weekday. And if today's your first time here, welcome in. You picked a good place to land. If you're an everydayer, you already know this show doesn't work without you. Watching on YouTube, tap that like button, jump into the comments, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts, please, a quick 5-star rating helps this show reach even more Dodger fans. And if you ever want your voice on the show, the Locked On Dodgers listener line is always open 24/7, 365. Just hit us up via text or voicemail at 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. All right, Cactus League, more like starting to make a statement. The Dodgers didn't ease into spring. They kicked the door down. They beat the Angels 15-2 on Saturday. They surpassed the Padres 5-1 on Sunday. That's 20 runs scored, 3 allowed. And yes, I know it's spring training, but I love when the tone is set that quick, Travis. I know it's just preseason, but it's good to see the boys in blue doing their thing.
I'm glad you liked it. It means jack squat. I mean, literally, whatever less than nothing is, that's what this means. It means the Dodgers have some good players. Everybody's breaking a sweat. Everybody's getting ready. It is fun. I like, you get to see them out there doing their thing. You get to hear people talking. It is fun. We're getting closer and closer. But I think for the vast majority of guys, both good, and by the way, had the Dodgers gone out there and struck out 30 times and looked like garbage, I would be saying the exact same thing. It just, especially when you have a team that is as veteran laden as the Dodgers are, as experienced as they are, you know what their goals are, you know what the approach to this is going to be. All you want is to see the guys look fresh. You want to see the guys look relatively crisp and sharp, but more than anything, that they look healthy and that their bodies are moving the way that they are. And it did. So I think there's some really positive things to take out as just far as the kind of the bounce in the step, for lack of a better word, but the results of these games, maybe it's for some of the younger players, I think it's a little bit more meaningful. Maybe not. Yeah, it's just, get through each one of these games as healthy as possible and just get a little bit sharper as we get closer to real baseball at the end of March.
Let's split up both games as they happen. Saturday was a little bit of controlled chaos. The lineup, I loved it. Shohei Ohtani leading off, Teoscar Hernandez right behind him, Andy Baez getting a real run, Dalton rushing, fighting 4 at-bats, Ha-Seong Kim out there in the mix, and on the mound, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. First off, Yoshi. He threw 30 pitches across 1 2/3 innings. He was efficient, sharp, calm, and it looked like a guy who knows exactly what he's building towards. But the big surprise came, I won't even say post game, but during the game when he did his interview over in the locker room, and he said that he's going to pitch again. He's going to pitch on Friday before heading over to Japan, which surprised everybody out there because Dave Roberts had said he's only pitching this game and then he's heading over Far East. And no, he's pitching again on Friday. Travis, I don't know if you watched the game, but man, he pitched that first inning super fast, but the top of the first and the top of the second inning, the Dodgers batters took like 40 and scored 9 runs between them. So Yoshi was like, hey, when am I going to get to play out there? And he'd said that it did affect him when he went out there in the second inning and he got hit a little bit. He got a couple of hits, two runs actually come through the plate. So it was good seeing him out there, but man, those Dodger bats, they weren't getting silenced, and that actually hurt Yoshi.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so often, this is why I feel the way I feel about spring training. Like, I would not have been surprised for exactly the reasons that you just mentioned, Harry, that because the Dodgers were just hit, had Yoshinobu Yamamoto said, you know what? I'm bagging it. I'm done with the first. I'm going to go down to the bullpen. I'll throw another, 12 or 15 pitches at whatever intensity that I feel like I need to do and then get out of here, as opposed to just sitting around and waiting around. Because once real games start, you have no control over that. Right now, by the way, always a good problem when your team's up to bat for 45 minutes. That's a good problem to have. But in spring training, you can kind of game the system. You can just basically pull the pin and say, I'm going to go down and throw in the bullpen. I was a little surprised. Not surprised is probably the wrong word, but just everything's kind of ramped up just a little bit more because the WBC is right around the corner, because Yamamoto is going to be such a big part of what the Team Japan is going to do. So that he's stacking another start on or another outing on, a little bit surprising, but he's further down the road than I think you would expect a guy to be at any point in a regular year and not a WBC year. But yeah, that guy, when it comes to doing stuff that you're unexpected, he's kind of at the top of the list, but I do trust that he's going to take care of his body and do the things that he needs to do.
Now let's talk about the Teoscar Hernandez experience, because we got the full sampler platter in game 1. 3 hits, 3 runs scored, an RBI in 3 at-bats. And he lost a pop-up in the Arizona Sun that turned into a run in left field. That's Teoscar right there. Impact and adventure, sometimes in the same inning. But Travis, it's like, well, at least now you have it at left field where you thought he was going to be a little bit hidden. And literally the first spring training game, there goes the ball right in the sun.
Let's just say that Teoscar better hope he hits a lot, right? That he's going to really need to find a way to get on base a lot, to hit home runs, to drive in runs, to score runs, to do the things that he needs to do, because his value is not going to be, increased by what he's doing out in left field or in the outfield or anywhere else. Let's be generous, he is a mediocre major league outfielder, and that might be being a little bit generous along the way. Now, it might not matter. As long as he can produce with the bat, he's going to be just fine. We've talked about this before. I think one of the rubs for the Dodgers, and it's not a negative because of what I'm about to say, but it's one fewer option that they have. There is no place to put a guy in a DH spot in the Dodgers. It's occupied, right? Shohei Ohtani is going to play just about every single day. So there's no day to take Will Smith and get him out from behind the plate, put him at DH. There's no, hey, Dalton Rushing hasn't had some at-bats in a week. Let's give him some at-bats at DH. Teoscar Hernandez is losing fly balls in the sun. Let's put him at DH to make sure he gets some at-bats. Shohei is going to take those DH at-bats. So it's just one less thing that you can do. But we were talking about this on my radio show the other day. Like, I don't know where I would place my bet if the question was, does Teoscar Hernandez finish the season as a member of the Dodgers? I think that is about right down the middle. If he did, I wouldn't be surprised. If he were gone, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just it felt like maybe they were shopping him a little during the offseason, and we'll see. But like you said, it was the full Teo experience, but incredibly popular player. Love the sunflower seed celebration, and I hope he stays here for a while.
And that's a key too. He changes the energy of the lineup. He changes the energy of that dugout. He's aggressive. He attacks, and that matters over 162 games. I still remember game 1 of the playoffs last year. post wild card round. The Dodgers were losing in Philadelphia until comes through with a clutch home run, and that changed everything for the boys in blue. Where you're losing in Philadelphia, you quiet down the building, you're up, and you end up going on a run where the National League can't touch you, and then you have problems over with the American League with the Blue Jays, and you still end up winning it. Quick Shohei update. He went 1 for 3 on Saturday. Then he threw 33 pitches in a live bullpen on Sunday. Fascinating stat. He had 3 at-bats before the Angels even went up to the plate for the second inning, Travis. That was ridiculous. That was crazy, but at least you got him up there a considerable amount of at-bats, and it's like, okay, that's good. He's the one that he was supposed to play on Sunday. He didn't play on Sunday, and now he's on his way to Japan, so he's done with camp for now. And all we can ask for as Dodger fans is, please, knock on wood, no injuries over in Japan or in Houston when they're in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, I mean, cross your fingers, toes, everything else you got. But, if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. It's just guys get hurt. Athletes get hurt. And whether it's here or there, I guess it really doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot. But I'm with you. I got my rabbit's foot out and everything else because he's something special. Even in spring training, when he comes up to bat, you're like, all right, let's see what he's about to do right here. There's just this energy that comes along with him that is irreplaceable.
No doubt about it. Then on Sunday, Tucker arrives. Kyle Tucker made his Dodger debut. Clean swing, calm presence. He took a 4-pitch walk in his second at-bat. He got an out in the first at-bat, but it was good to see him out there with guys like Miggy Rowe, like Will Smith. And that depth is obvious right there, Travis, where you don't need to throw out guys like Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, who Dave Roberts can pace the veterans and not rush into anything and still have very competitive teams, because the Padres, they threw all the carne asada into the barbecue, and it's like, we want to beat the Dodgers, and they could barely scrape a run against the boys in blue, and they lost 5-1. And I was looking at their lineup. I was actually watching the game at 3 a.m, feeding my daughter watching the Dodgers game today in the morning, and I was like, man, the Padres literally, I think they had one guy that might not be an everyday starter for them in that lineup, and they still couldn't do anything against the Dodger pitching staff up there in the mound.
Yeah, I think the interesting part about Tucker, I went out on Saturday night to Legends Attic and spent some time with Oral Hershiser. We'll play that for you on Locked on Dodgers coming up later this week. I asked him about Kyle Tucker, and what you just described, Harry, is kind of what he was talking about, that he's just going to give you a professional at-bat every single time. That maybe he's not a 40 home run guy. Maybe he's not going to be, the most prolific offensive production guy ever, but he's going to give you just a really quality, high-level at-bat every single time. Think Freddie Freeman, think Mookie Betts, that just you have to grind him out to get him out of there. So you're talking about, I think most guys in spring training, they're up there, they're trying to get their licks in, they're trying to get their hacks in, that he's just saying, no, I'm going to wait for my pitch, I think is a nice little window into what Kyle Tucker's going to bring. And look, Dodgers have a lot of good players. They're going to be really good. They're going to win a lot of games. And when you throw a guy like that right smack into the middle of your batting order, it just gets even more difficult to navigate.
No doubt about it. How about like a good mix of Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy out there, prolific with the bat, also patient up at the mound. And the lineup for today's game against the Mariners is already out. Kim, Hernandez, Pages, Rushing, Espinal, Freeland, Hura, Earhart, Tibbs with Knack up at the mound. The Dodgers, that first pitch is scheduled once again for a little bit past noon. And we'll be talking all about it, everything regarding the boys in blue in spring training here on Locked on Dodgers. But next, Freddie Freeman says he wants to retire at 40. That's potentially 4 more seasons. Is 3,000 hits realistic? Will he finish his career in Los Angeles? And how aggressive will the Dodgers be managing his workload? We'll be talking about it next here on Locked on Dodgers.
Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to do exactly that, to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Let me tell you how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you will automatically be entered for your shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. Yep, you heard me right. We're talking flights, tickets, the entire experience. So if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is a perfect time to lock it in, because this time of year, whether you're picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds a little extra layer of excitement to every single game down the stretch. And right now, not only can you pick up some cash, but could also send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. This week only, you can use the code SPRING for a free month. Just go to lockedondodgers.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to join this community. Remember, use the code SPRING for a free month. Freddie at 40, the final chapter is coming into focus. Freddie Freeman isn't done, but he's thinking about the finish line. This right now, it's incredible. 17th. This is his 17th major league season. 5th with the Dodgers. His contract runs through 2027, so he has 2 more years in his deal. And if things go according to plan, he'd like to play about 4 more years, taking him to age 40. That would be 20 seasons in the big leagues. Travis, that's rare air right there. And do you think the Dodgers, when they hear this, it's like, man, we got to lock him down. We don't care about father time. We want him to keep playing in Dodger blue. Or is it something where it's like, okay, we got to potentially make the smart decision and go younger at first base?
I think this is a classic example of 2 things can be true at the same time. I think they would love for him to end his career as a Dodger. I think that it would be appropriate. I think that when you're talking about a Hall of Fame player like Freddie Freeman, a guy that's hit a couple of legendary postseason home runs, a guy that has been an exemplary, pro community member. Like there really isn't anything you could possibly ask more from Freddie Freeman. He's just been aces across the board. So you would like to keep him. He's a local guy. He grew up in Southern California. So all of that stuff is amazing. That being said, they're in no rush to sign him up. And look, I think Freddie Freeman is about as safe a bet as you're going to find for all the reasons that I've said. He takes good care of himself. He plays every day. He's an incredible player. He's disciplined. He's all of these things. But he's also a professional athlete in his late 30s. You don't rush to sign those guys up. You kind of take it year by year. You see what's going through it. So while the goal may be to keep him here as long as possible, and I don't think there's a single Dodger fan that's looking to shove him out the door. He's still playing at an incredibly high level. He's one of my favorite Dodgers. But it's one of these, I don't need to sign up a 30-something-year-old guy for his 40-year-old season when he's already in his late 30s. We can wait. The Dodgers are going to be able to offer him money, which is important, but they're going to be able to offer him perhaps the most important thing, which is a chance to continue to win. Like maybe there's a chance somewhere else somebody might want to have him come back, even Atlanta come back at some point, something like that. But do I really want to leave the place where I've already won a couple of World Series, where I've had all of these incredible moments? I'm back home with his family, all of these sorts of things. So I'm incredibly excited that he wants to stay here as long as he can. I think that him playing till 40 is an incredible achievement if he can get it done. There's some milestones that are on the horizon for him that would be really fun to see him happen in a Dodger uniform. But I don't think you rip up the last couple of years of his contract and extend him. He's at that weird age in his life where that would be bad business, and the Dodgers really don't do a lot of bad business.
No doubt about it. Look at just the Max Muncy contract, the way that he just got signed days before camp started, and they gave him a 1-year extension with an option year, including some guaranteed money in case there was an opt-out from the club's perspective. And it's like, okay, there's an extra $10 million. You're not going to play on a lame duck deal with just 1 year remaining this season. No, they'll take care of their players. And I feel that there comes a point too where it's like, okay, how much is too much money? I know that players don't like leaving money on the table, but just look at Max Muncy. He could have left many times to other teams, but he preferred staying with the Dodgers, not taking as much money as he would to get signed in other clubs, but knowing that he could win, knowing that his family would be taken care of, knowing that LA is the place to be. You were talking about milestones, Travis. One of them is he's less than 600 hits away from 3,000, and that's more than doable with 4 productive years. Not guaranteed, but doable, because look at last year. Even having ankle injuries, nagging injuries, he hit 295. He was still one of the most productive first basemen in baseball. It was him and Will Smith going head-to-head to lead the Dodgers in batting average. He's consistency into a baseball player at first base. But once again, Father Time doesn't negotiate. The Dodgers do, Father Time doesn't. So I think it'll be fascinating to see his production in 2026, see how healthy he can stay, because he said he wants to play 162 games, Travis. I don't think that the team will let him play 162 games. They'll try to give him a day off here and there, but that's who he is.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he wants to play every day. He that's what he does. And like you said, that's who he is. And I think that he's one of those guys that maybe the team needs to have his best interest in mind for him. That being said, Ari, I wouldn't be surprised if he played 150 games, 154, 155. I mean, that's how much he plays, and he's going to hit. Like, a bad season for Freddie Freeman is 145, 150 hits. That he's just going to stack up hits like that. 3,000 hits feels very doable. There's just not a lot of guys I think are going to reach that milestone anymore. We've talked about how just the metrics of baseball are changing, the way that it's played. He's one of those old school guys that you can pencil in for 175, 180 hits almost before the season starts, assuming health. So he's going to get to 3,000. I think if he wants to get there, he will get there. But the great equalizer, the great wild card is injuries. And, he was incredibly durable through the early part of his career. He's been pretty durable as a Dodger, but you've started to see just a little bit of things here and there. Now, he's played through most of them, but the older you get, the tougher it is to battle through those things. But I would never bet against Freddie Freeman when it comes to picking up hits in a baseball game ever. That guy just keeps going and going and going.
And being clutch. That's back-to-back World Series that he hits walk-off home runs for key wins for the Boys in Blue. Game 1 of the 2024 World Series against the Yankees. Game 3 of the 2025 World Series against the Blue Jays to finish an 18-inning game. By the way, congratulations to him, to his wife Chelsea, to their sons. They announced that they're pregnant again. They're going to have their 4th kid coming soon. So hopefully that kid arrives with 3 World Series in a row for his dad coming up soon. But it's going to be interesting to see not only this year, but next year as well. I hope that he still remains in a very good level and makes the decision for the Dodgers an easier one, because if he declines suddenly, that would make it complicated, in my opinion, where it's like, unless he just takes a hometown deal where it's like, hey, I'm good with taking Max Muncy type of money to just stay along with the Dodgers because he wants to stay in LA.
Here's the good news. I don't think there would be a precipitous decline. I just don't think that he's not a guy that's just going to all of a sudden show up and Freddie Freeman's hitting 210. That's just not going to happen. He's just too good of a hitter. That being said, the Dodgers are not going to just do it to do it. He has to perform. They look, Justin Turner, I always use him as an example because I think he's the best example, is as about a popular of a player as the Dodgers had through the early part of the 21st century, through the 2010s. They finally said, no, we're good, man. That doesn't work for us anymore. So if they're going to let him go, and I get it, Freeman's a better player than Turner, but as far as just impact and popularity, they make baseball decisions first. So Freddie's got to continue to produce. If the Dodgers will continue to give him opportunities, but the second the production starts to wane is when uncomfortable conversations take place. The good news is I don't think the production's going to wane anytime soon.
Heck, look at Kike Hernandez. He left as well, and then he ended up coming back. The Dodgers ended up trading for him. And for the Dodgers, their job is to balance competitive fire with long-term preservation as well. And speaking of priorities, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, down the freeway, things are different, because when an owner publicly suggests that winning isn't among fans' top concerns, we have to talk about that. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Dodgers will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves and Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this show. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers, not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Affordability over winning? Not in this city. Let's talk about what was said this week by Artie Moreno, owner of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and Orange County. He suggested that according to fan surveys, affordability, safety, and experience rank ahead of winning in terms of priorities. Winning, though, not in the top 5. That right there is stunning. Now, let's be fair. Affordability matters, family matters, ballpark experience matters, but this is Los Angeles. This is one of the biggest markets in the whole world, and their payroll, instead of staying high, has dropped from over $200 million down significantly lower. And I understand, Travis, their TV deal situation remains unsettled. Spring games aren't even being broadcast for them. They have to watch the Dodgers broadcast to be able to watch the Angels on TV. But you look at what the Dodgers do, they invest aggressively because they're making money. They had the same player that the Dodgers went from being really, really good to being incredibly good, and they didn't even make the playoffs once with Shohei Ohtani. But this right here, when I heard it, I was like, dude, that's something that you just should have kept in your brain and don't even say it out loud.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if I'm putting myself in Artie Moreno's head, which I don't like to do, but if I am, I think what he's saying is that's how the survey told him that what the fans want is affordability. They want safety. They want ballpark experience, et cetera, and that winning was not in the top 5. I don't think he was saying that for him, winning is not in the top 5. I think what he was saying, that being said, what's the point of saying it at all? Like, it's almost like you're trying to explain away the fact that you've had a very bad baseball team for a very long period of time, that the winning will take care of the rest of it. That if you win games and you go to the postseason and you give your fans a chance to see really high-level baseball, great players, the rest of that stuff will take care of itself. It was an odd thing for him to say. I understand the logistics of what he's repeating what data told him. It's a bad hill to die on. Especially when you haven't been a winning team in a very long time. You haven't been to the postseason in a very long time. To your point, the sports space in this part of California is loaded with options. You know, we've talked about this. You got 2 of everything. You got 2 major universities in SC and UCLA. You've got 2 NBA teams. You've got 2 NFL teams. You've got 2 MLS teams. You've got 2 Major League Baseball teams, 2 NHL teams. Like, there is nothing but options. And if I know that one of them is non-competitive, unless I'm just looking to go eat a hot dog on a nice Saturday afternoon, why would I choose that instead of the other one? I don't know. It was a very peculiar thing to say. I think that clearly Angel fans don't care about that, or else they would insist on a better product. And you get what you pay for, I guess.
Sam Blum, the beat writer for The Athletic covering the Angels, he actually put out a tweet being like, "Hey, if there's any Angels fans that filled this survey, please let me know." And all the responses were, "Hey, I've been a season ticket holder for a decade and I haven't gotten a single survey asking these questions." He went over to the Angels and asked them, "Hey, can we get a copy of that survey, or can we ask some questions about that survey?" And all he got was no response in that action. It's like, is Artie Moreno just inventing something to have an excuse to what's happening with his team? Because it's ridiculous, and that's a huge difference. They want to claim they're from Los Angeles. They're actually in Anaheim. They're in Orange County, and the huge difference is you can look at how Dodger fans, they pay premium prices. Why? Because ownership reinvests at a premium level. Meanwhile, why do Angels fans want to show up and sell out Anaheim Stadium, Angel Stadium, and be like, yeah, let's sell it out and have a mediocre product on the field that hasn't made it to the playoffs in a decade? That's a big difference. There's alignment between Dodger fans and their team, and there is a disconnect between Angels fans and their team, and I don't blame them. And I feel bad that that's the case. And that's the same case with pretty much every owner. If you don't want to spend money, if you don't want to invest on your team, sell your team. You're going to make billions of dollars by selling your team, and somebody else will be willing to spend that money because the price to get into professional sports right now is in the billions. So if they're going to make an investment on that, then they're going to invest even more. Look, literally what happened with them once Guggenheim took over for the McCourts.
Yeah, I've talked about this on my Locked On Rams podcast. I'm sure I've mentioned it here. I know I've mentioned it on my radio show for years and years, that you can't overcome a bad owner. Once in a while, you might catch lightning in a bottle and get some really good players and put together a season that works, and you go to the postseason. If everything breaks exactly right, maybe you win the Super Bowl or the World Series or the Stanley Cup or whatever. But if your owner is good, if your owner is committed to winning, which I believe the Dodger ownership group clearly is, for all the reasons that you mentioned, that they reinvest in their players, they reinvest in the ballpark, that they give their fans a top-notch experience, then that's what you're looking for. If your team is owned by a guy who is looking to inflate his own ego, if you look at somebody who is looking for credit, if you're looking for somebody that wants to be the story when things are good and take none of the blame when things are bad, then you're kind of cooked. You cannot navigate around that. It's their team. You can't force him to sell because they're still lining their pockets with all sorts of money, even if the product on the field isn't great. So it's an unovercomable obstacle, and that's why Dodger fans are so lucky to have what they have. That's why I'm optimistic about what the Lakers are about to get into too, because they're going to put their fingerprints all over that. But if your owner is not committed to the right things, you're going to have a team that struggles for long periods of time.
Hey, and the Lakers, they just announced, they sent out the invoices for season tickets for next season, and the prices increased compared to the last couple of years. And it's like, hey, that's the Mark Walter special. Yeah, the prices are going to go up, but guess what? The money going back into the organization is going to increase as well, because you look at that embarrassing performance against the Celtics without Jason Tatum, and it's like, yo, you got a lot of work to do. So keep an eye on that. They'll get there, hopefully, once LeBron retires, in my opinion. Go Luka. When it comes to this situation, Travis, I bet that Shohei Ohtani's like, thank God Artie Moreno said no to matching the Dodgers offer.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shohei was in control of that, and who knows how much truth there was in the, maybe they went back and offered, maybe they didn't, maybe they still would have gone to LA, or, I don't know. Shohei clearly is about winning, and the Angels proved that they were not going to be able to support him the way that he, deserves to be supported. So that never felt likely that he was going to go back, even the reporting to the contrary. Shohei wants to win, and he went to a place that gave him a chance to win.
Hey, for the Angels, scared money don't make money. The Dodgers, they understand that.
No, they do make money. A lot of it. They don't win games, but they make a lot of money.
Oh, no, that's what I mean. But scared money, like they don't spend it the way they should, doesn't make even more money the way that they should be. If you make the playoffs, you get more money. If you win around in the playoffs, even getting through the wild card, you make more bank the Angels right now, they're like, okay, we struck out with Pujols, we struck out with Rendon, we struck out with Hamilton. Our own guy, Mike Trout, ain't happy that we switched them to right field. Now he's going back to center field. That seems like a lost franchise over there down the freeway. Yeah, but exactly. And the Dodgers right now, they know that they spend big, they invest big, they compete big. Why? Because in Los Angeles, winning isn't optional. It's the standard. And I can't wait to see the boys in blue keep winning even more, even if it is just spring training. And then later, it'll be the real thing. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Travis, you got a lot heading over to the podcast with interviews you had over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I got to speak with Oral for a while. Got to speak with former Cy Young Award winner Eric Gagne. So we'll have those up for you sometime this week before too long. It was a really fun night. Had a great chat with Oral. Had a great chat with Eric Gagne. So those are coming soon.
We'll keep an eye on those. Keep an eye on the lookout with our show to hear from these two Dodger legends. All right, if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.